Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Thursday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, HUDCO Roofing, HUDCORoofing.com, Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com, and ProCharge EV, ProChargeEV.com. All right, glad to have everybody aboard with us here. Certainly a disappointing night on Wednesday night. Kind of follow a little timeline for those that might be interested. I got off air, 6, recorded LSU Daily, came home, was eating dinner, literally just sitting at the table eating dinner, 6:45-ish or so. And my phone rings, and it was a national college football guy who's a friend, not Ross, by the way, not Dellinger, and was like, "How do you get an impermissible benefit in the NIL era?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, what did I miss? I don't know. What happened?" He goes, "Maason Smith was suspended for the opener." I was like, "Eh?" So anyway, saw Wilson's report. By the way, hat tip to Wilson Alexander. Hat tip to Wilson Alexander because it's nice to see when the guys on the local beat or ladies on the local beat have done a good enough job connecting with people and decision makers and are trustworthy enough to where they break news. And it's not always coming from one of the national guys who don't know the beat as well as the people who or shouldn't know the beat as well as people covering it. So Ross was the best, obviously. There's a reason he's where he is right now. But hat tip to Wilson for getting the story of the suspension. I tweeted after that, like immediately, how do you get an impermissible benefit in the NIL era? And so some of you started replying to me on Twitter, like, "Isn't it your job to find out?" Like, well, actually, no. I'm a talk show host. I'm not a breaking news reporter. Which this whole breaking the story last night, which I did, of what happened. I added to, so Wilson broke the story of the suspension. I'm the one who got the story of why he was suspended. But it's so funny that nobody gives attribution. I shouldn't say nobody. On3 gave attribution. ESPN gave no attribution in their story. Anyway, it's just, it validates something I've said for a long time, which is nobody cares who breaks the news. Nobody cares or remembers who breaks a story. So it's just so not worth it, because if you're ever wrong, then they'll remember if you mess one up. They'll never remember who breaks the story. So anyway. But people were like, "Isn't that your job to find out?" I'm like, "Well, no, it's not actually. I'm a talk show host. I talk about the news. I don't break the news." But I figured, what the hell? So within an hour, no, let's see, within 2 hours, I had the full story, because I think I tweeted it out there at or just before 9 o'clock. So I tweeted it. I did a live stream last night. For those that missed it, I'll quickly run through exactly what happened, because I know some of you probably missed it yesterday. But so NIL went live July 1st of 2021. Players report to campus for off-season workouts in June, and literally days after the team got to campus in June, Boutte had an autograph signing scheduled, and he told Maason Smith, "Come with me, you can make some money." So they went, and they made some money. The person who conducted or organized the autograph signing, apparently after, as I was told, some things went a little sideways, didn't get those details, turned in the players to the NCAA. The NCAA did an investigation. LSU players cooperated fully, and the NCAA decided 1 year one game suspension for both players. Kayshon Boutte served his suspension last year. Now, there were 3 opportunities, and LSU never disclosed which game he was suspended. He missed the New Mexico game, as you might recall, for his son was born on Thursday, and so they said he missed the New Mexico game for the birth of his son. Now, something that a lot of people talked about at the time was the child was born on Thursday. Why couldn't he play on Saturday? This might have been your answer. He missed the UAB game due to the flu. If you remember, Kayshon warmed up and did not play. After the game, Brian Kelly said Kayshon had the flu and wanted to go. It was an important game and tried to go, but just couldn't. Perhaps that was the suspension. That probably seems more plausible. He also, if you remember how the bowl game, everything there transpired, Kayshon announced he was coming back to school. And then we learned he was not going to play in the bowl game. A few hours after we learned he was not going to play in the bowl game, he announced he was actually going pro. There was a salacious internet rumor about what was purported to have transpired in Atlanta during the SEC championship game. None of that. So Jeff said T-Bob's reporting. T-Bob's not reporting anything. T-Bob read my tweet, and he's making an inference. So there's a big difference. T-Bob is not reporting it was the flu game. He's making an inference based on the information I put out there. So I want to be very clear, because I think, and Daniel Williams, yes, it was a rumor. Speaking to, it was a rumor. And the details described in that snap there are gross factual inaccuracies. Anyway, yeah, and sorry, Jeff, I'm not trying to be standoffish, but like, this is one of the things when it comes to breaking news. And it's one of the dangerous things about the internet, because everyone fancies themselves as a reporter. I'm not saying that about you, Jeff. And I'm not saying T-Bob, whatever, but information gets passed so quickly and sometimes so carelessly, and how you word things matters so much. Like, I mean, hell, man, like, I'm not trying to, like that's what I went to school for. I was trained for that. I did 4 years of news. Like, it's not an easy thing to do, to be diligent and to be accurate. You have to, like, painfully pore over every word to make sure there isn't something that's misinterpreted. So, yes, T-Bob, I was listening to the show open, and he is making an inference. He does not know. And I'm telling you that I don't know. And I'm the one who broke the damn story. And I talked to 4 different people who all corroborated it. The only 2 people I would assume that could really tell me would be Kayshon Boutte or Brian Kelly, and I did not talk to either of them last night. So, anyway, who could tell me definitively? So it was obviously one of the 3 games that he missed. It was either New Mexico, UAB, or the bowl game, where he would have missed the bowl game, but for going pro. Anyway, if you asked me and my assumption, no, I got you, Jeff. It's okay, man. It's okay. But anyway, so Maason would have also served the suspension last year, but he was injured, and because he was injured and missed the entire season, he couldn't be suspended for a game that he wasn't able to play in anyway. I know that's something a lot of people have asked. Well, shouldn't the injury and missing the whole season be enough of a punishment? Well, the injury had nothing to do with the penalty for what transpired in June of 2021. I mean, I think intellectually and intuitively everyone understands that. Like you, the punishment has to be levied. Missing a season due to injury has nothing to do with him breaking an NCAA rule. Um, and listen, and yes, I think it's stupid. I absolutely think it's categorically stupid. But I also understand. So anyway, so Maason was told it was earlier this summer that LSU was told Maason was going to have to serve the suspension for the season opener, um, and um, um, actually, the one other tidbit that I did not put in the tweet is that LSU did try to move the Grambling game to week 0. So Maason would miss the Grambling game and not Florida State. So, but so logistically, they couldn't make it work. And you got to keep in mind, there are so many moving parts involved in an LSU game day. There are stocking concession stands, stocking bathrooms, making sure you have police allocated to work game day. You have ticket takers and concession workers and security workers and parking attendants. And could Grambling come in? Are there enough hotel rooms? There are logistically so many things involved with an LSU game day that are far more than just, hey, Grambling, hop on a bus and come down on a Saturday and play a game. And I would like to think it's that easy. It's just not. So logistically, they couldn't get that game moved to week 0. And so Maason Smith will miss the opener. I was told Maason and Brian Kelly met in BK's office on Sunday. They were going to go with the story that Mason's ankle injury was going to keep him out of the game, and he just wasn't ready, and so he was going to miss the game due to the ankle injury. And then Wilson broke the story. So that's what I know. And so LSU will go forward. I mean, this will blow over. Obviously, I mean, I don't think if anything, people are more pissed at the NCAA, regardless of who you cheer for. It's just a stupid thing. I don't think it's going to affect Maason in any way. It stings for LSU that, this dominant interior player is going to miss the biggest game of week 1 for sure. And, top 10 matchup and all that sort of stuff. The good news for LSU is they're deep at defensive tackle. So, you don't have another Maason Smith, although Mekhi Wingo was an All-American last year, which is a great place to start. But still, it's a bummer. So, okay, we'll say some good mornings. I'll answer what I can. Fire away. Joey Vincent, what's going on? Perkins for Heisman. I ain't even worried about it, Ball. Perk about to body bag the Knowles. Plus, we got Mekhi and JQ. We're going to be fine, hopefully. JQ? Jacobian? Guillory? The one thing you said there, though, that is true is, remember, Harold Perkins was not a factor against Florida State last year. He didn't really emerge as a starter until the Ole Miss game. Lane, no way we play Florida State without Maason again. Way, it's happening. Irfan Sayad, what's going on? Brian Pent and Cody Champion. This is a swift kick to the gut. I'm sure Maason feels the same. Man, it's interesting too, not in a good way, just think about over the years, all of these things that seem to transpire like right before the season, from Derek Stingley missed the Mississippi State opener in the COVID year. We found that out like the night before the game. Christian Fulton suspension, we found out, was at 2017, right before the game. but it is crazy. It feels like every year there's something like this right before the season starts, um, where we find out something like this. Anyway, Kevin Cloud, Brad David, Guy Brooks, good morning. Jeremy Vince, Larry Gardner. Maason will be fine. Give him an extra week to prepare for the season. Also, he can't get hurt in the first game of the season. I saw the Tigers winning by 2 TDs. Yeah, that is one thing that is worth looking at. It's like, and I said this last night on the live stream, but I don't think, and I'm looking up right now the line. Maason Smith's absence shouldn't alter, alter the line. At all. Let's see. I'm looking for it. LSU 2.5. So I think I'd seen it 3, so maybe a half a point. It went from 3 to 2.5. LSU still favored 2.5. So, yeah. Baby Bobby, good morning. Devin Johnson. Matt, keep Southwest Louisiana in your prayers. Officials are fighting a real big wildfire 18 miles from my house. Looks to have burned 14,000 acres so far. Oh my gosh. Certainly keeping the firefighters in thought and prayer as well. Tim Gotro, good morning. The person that turned them in should be banned from Tiger Stadium for life. Yeah, I get the sense, man, that it wasn't a I get the sense that it wasn't like an LSU fan. And I think there are ways to trace it. Actually, if you go back to 2021, Maason and Kyron Lacey did a signing as well down in Homa. And that was actually, there was news articles about it and everything like that, but that was after, I believe it was August maybe, so it was already legal. NIL was legal at that point. And Kyron was playing for ULL at the time. So, and as I was told, it was kind of a seedy deal, right? Like cash, no credit cards, but the dudes were videoing the signing and everything, because obviously you need proof of the signing. So anyway. Let's see, Weston Weaver, you got it, man. Wendell Norman, Bradley, and Graffia, Irfan Sayad. If Keyshawn had the option of which game he served, now that's not what I'm saying, Irfan. So that's important. That's important to clarify. That's again another thing that's been misconstrued, and I think is important to clarify. I never said that Keyshawn got the choice of which game to serve, but I didn't say that. What I said was I don't know which game he served. We know which games he missed last year, and one of them was for this reason, either New Mexico UAB or would have been the bowl game. And I do not know which one it is. So some people say, can they appeal? Keep in mind, like if you cooperated with the investigation and the penalty was handed down last year, you've already gone through this whole process. There is no, like, you've already gone through the entire process. Like, it's done. Brian Wynn, Marine Sniper, what's going on? Tiger Diver, Cajun Country, thanks for the insight, always spot on. Why didn't Brian Kelly come out and say it? No, because I think he's just trying to protect Maason from embarrassment. That's a coach trying to protect his players, which I understand. It's an embarrassing thing to say you're suspended and you did a not smart thing a couple of years ago when he was 18. I think he was just trying to protect the player. Because now Maason Smith is being talked about everywhere, and I mean, excuse me, it's a big national story, and so I understand. But listen, I mean, Sean, he did the same thing for Keyshawn last year because he never disclosed that Keyshawn was suspended. So just a coach protecting his player, and I get it. I don't like it. I would rather transparency, but um, but I get it. Cliff Nelson, good morning. Damon Gilmore, Tiger Diver surprised the NCAA didn't try to roll this into the Will Wade investigation. Charlie Cavell, Kelly Gross, good morning, y'all. Jacob Willis, good morning. Jim Arsenault, I love getting the morning started with you, brother. Good morning. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that. Very kind of you, man. Hey, Dad, good morning. Jeff McKithen, Daniel Williams, I already talked to you. Let's see. Bubba Smith, Quentin Breakbill, what's going on? Brody, Ladele, how does Manziel get a game for the same thing? Well, if you remember, Brody, Manziel never admitted to taking money for the autograph signing. That's why. And if you watch the Manziel documentary on Netflix, he hid all the money. And at one point where he, the craziest part of that whole documentary is that Manziel called his grandfather and said, "Hey, if I give you some money, will you write me a check?" And so it was like, yeah. And so that's how they played it off with his bank account was to show that he just said he came from a wealthy oil family and his grandpa gave him money. It's how he was flying private planes and sitting courtside and all that stuff. And you got to remember, it all happened so quickly. Like Johnny Manziel went from unknown he wasn't even at SEC Media Days. He wasn't even like guaranteed to win the starting job at SEC Media Days in August or July to the Heisman Trophy winner in December. I mean, it's 5 months. So nobody knew him. And he couldn't talk to the media. They didn't let freshmen speak to the media. So until he won the Heisman, like nobody talked to Johnny Manziel. So it was like you meet this guy and he says he's from a wealthy oil family. It's like, okay. I mean, everybody just, it's like Manti Te'o's dead girlfriend. I mean, everybody just took him at his word. Why would you lie about that? So anyway. Daniel, why did Wilson leak the story? Wilson didn't leak the story. Wilson broke the story because Wilson is a reporter. That's his job, is to report news on the team. And Maason Smith being suspended for the Florida State game is certainly newsworthy about the team he covers. It's one of those things, like going back to the point I was making earlier about how there's just a giant misperception about media and the media's job and the media's role. Like, Wilson Alexander does not work for LSU. Wilson Alexander works for The Advocate. His job is to cover LSU, is to report on and break news that relates to the team he covers. He covers LSU. Is Maason Smith being suspended for a game newsworthy? Yes. Like, that's why Wilson broke the story. And good for him. Like, he got scoop, he followed it up, he got information he deemed credible from enough places, and he broke the story that Maason was going to miss the game. And once he did, then I went and found out what the story was. And Wilson and I talked last night after I broke the details of the suspension of what happened. At least with what I was willing to share. Courtney Store, the deal with Maason stinks, as you say, but I have to let it go, get ready for FSU. Dustin Thiels, insert Chris Garley gift pulling out his hair for the love of God. For the love of God. He said he washed the sheets. Do me a favor, please smash that like button if you would. Subscribe up to the channel. Facebook, please like the Matt Moscona page, share the post. Pat Huseman, good morning. Unprecedented times or experience this world living. Brian Williams, got to move forward. Let's see, could imagine Brian Kelly being upset he wasn't able to handle it the way he wanted to. That's irrelevant. I mean, I'm sure coaches would love to control every message and every narrative ever, but that's also not plausible, because if all the media outlets that covered a team did was just share press releases, then what are you? You're just a mouthpiece for the school or the program. So, and Wilson did his job. Good morning, Antron. Let's see. Jeff, could Netflix documentary on Johnny Manziel and his autograph signing peeved off the NCAA? No, keep in mind, Jeff, like this was done more than a year ago, right? So, like the ruling on Kayshawn and Maason was done like a year ago, well before the Manziel documentary. Marine Sniper 42, honest question: are there not handlers, managers around the team to book or provide Overwatch for these types of things? So that's a great question. And that's one that, with the benefit of hindsight, we could sit here and ask and say, you were literally less than a month away, weeks, if not days away from NIL being live and you being able to do an autograph signing and take money for it legally. And you went and did that. Now, what that tells me, and this is, again, I would like to clarify that I'm speculating here on this part, then that wasn't the first time. But yes, I mean, I think that's a great question, is why wasn't somebody in their ear, every player's ear, saying, hey, this is going to be legal in a month, less than a month, just sit tight. Leon Williams, Solar Flares, Trivia Carter, good morning. Good, glad y'all are home from the hospital, man. Oh, and it's your wife's birthday. Well, happy birthday to Brittany. It's a great birthday present to be home. Hope she's doing much, much better, man. Glad for y'all. Very happy. Very, very happy. Barry Jocelyn, you got it, man. Scott Fontenot. Antron, no, there is no Brian Kelly press conference today. No, sir. Travis Heath, in the real world, you can't say, hey, you smoked weed before it was legal, so we're going to charge you because we were too incompetent to catch you when it's legal. But that's the thing, Travis, like, they did, and it's also not a court of law, it's the NCAA, and that's an important distinction. Look, I get it that it sucks, I get it, y'all. I'm not saying anything to the contrary. It's just the NCAA is a member institution. Members choose to participate in the NCAA, and the NCAA's bylaws, and you have to follow them. It's what it is. I mean, I think we all intuitively understand that. Like, yes, it sucks, but it was at a time where you couldn't accept payment for services like that. They did. They got in trouble. Brian Wynn, who selects the game Maason sits out? The NCAA. So, Brian, that's another thing you might have missed that I talked about. That LSU did try. They said Maason Smith would have to miss the season opener. LSU did try, as I understand, to move the Grambling game to week 0 and have him miss the Grambling game. But logistically, they could not make that happen. I think they should take Manziel's Heisman away. They did it to Reggie Bush. That's not going to solve anything, and I'd completely disagree. And the reason they took away Reggie Bush's Heisman, remember, the NCAA, that's another big misconception. The NCAA did not take away Reggie Bush's Heisman. The Heisman Trust did. They made that decision. The NCAA doesn't award the Heisman. The Heisman Trust awards the Heisman Trophy. The Heisman Trust did that because when the NCAA ruled that Reggie Bush was ineligible and vacated those wins, at that point, the Heisman Trust said, well, if all those wins and records and all are vacated, then he was ineligible for this award. That's when he vacated the Heisman. But it wasn't the NCAA that said you have to give up your Heisman Trophy. All right, y'all. I think we're just about done. Appreciate y'all for being, oh yeah, it's 8 o'clock, I gotta go. Thanks for being here. YouTube, please smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe up to the channel. Facebook, please like the Matt Scone page. LSU Daily is live. I had LSU Daily recorded, by the way, before we got the Maason Smith news. So LSU Daily today has nothing to do with Maason Smith, unfortunately. But we'll be here for AFR 3. We'll see you. Peace.